Hey, it's JK. It's been a long while since we've entered the world of Boletaria, but I feel it's about time for my yearly Demon Souls video. Today, we're going to be doing the classic multi-cycle archery challenge. It will only be 2 cycles because Demon Souls only has bows and crossbows, which we'll be using in New Game and New Game Plus respectively. No greatbows to be found here. If you think this means that the run is going to be easier, well, trust me, you do not want to miss this crossbow cycle. Things got very painful very fast. I think I can safely say Demon Souls has the worst crossbows of any of the games, hands down. With all that said, let's put a bow on this intro and start the run. First, we make our character, Boletarian. Interestingly, several of the classes actually start with bows, and one even starts with arrows, but no bow, which is kinda odd. Inevitably, we go with the Hunter class because it starts with the longbow, which is the best of the bows available. I started the journey to the Nexus, but realized an issue instantly. I only have 50 arrows, which I can't get more of until I get to the Nexus, which means I might just have to run through. After running through, I tried to take out this demon guarding a van, but it soon became clear that I in fact did not have enough arrows. Well, that was a massive waste. When we make it to the Nexus, Baldwin sells arrows, but of course we have no souls to buy them. This in fact is a bit of an issue. Even the basic enemies here require 2 arrows to kill. 2 arrows cost 40 souls to buy, but these enemies only drop 6 souls each. So the plan for now was to run through the level, grabbing consumable souls, and then cheesing this knight off these stairs for some horrific PTSD of the throwing knife run. With the consumable souls and the souls from that night, I was able to get enough to bring me to 54 arrows, which doesn't really feel like enough. Luckily, there are some other ways to farm souls in 1-1, and we're definitely going to need as many arrows as possible for this boss. With a bit of farming, I've now got 100 arrows. Will this be enough? Well, this was about as frustrating as I had imagined. Firstly, the shields the minions have are extremely annoying. You need to land 2 arrows in their behind to actually kill them. But often, the arrows don't hit, even if it looks like they should. Sometimes they hit the wrong target even though I'm locked on. Finally, Phalanx has a super annoying heal mechanic if the minions aren't all dead, which can really ruin your day 8 minutes deep into an attempt. I worked out that with the damage I do to Phalanx, it would take 25 arrows to kill it. So, my plan was to use up about 70 arrows killing the minions and then try to take it out. Thankfully, this did actually work well. I took out as many as I could. With not many minions left, I actually got Phalanx into a corner position where somehow the remaining minions didn't come and interfere, letting me shoot Phalanx multiple times in a row to pull out the hard-earned victory. With that, we head back to the Nexus, where a small child posing as Vati Vidya explains the lore to me. I now upgrade our bow once with the shards we got from that boss and put a point into strength. Now, our first destination is Island's Edge, i.e. 4-1. This area is going to be hell for us at this point, but has some useful rewards that we need. The Thief's Ring hopefully will help us out here, as well as some appropriate cheesing of course. It took a while, but I finally made it through. We can now grab the compound longbow and escape with our lives. We can also take this handy shortcut and grab the Regenerator's Ring. I then speed past this skeleton to enter the boss of the area, Adjudicator. Compared to the last boss, and also 4-1 as a whole, this boss is an absolute joke. Using range, we can just stay up on this ledge, shoot his little bird head, and dodge the vertical swing he does. That's about it. We kill him pretty quickly, even though we don't do a ton of damage. I now go buy some hardstone shards, upgrade strength to 15, and upgrade the compound longbow to +3. I now went to 4-2, where I saw this intimidating Reaper guy, who actually was very easily downed from range by our arrows. It seems the best advice is don't fear the Reaper. Up ahead, we can also grab the white bow. Despite this being stronger than our current bow, it's got pretty high stat requirements, and the upgrade materials are very difficult to get hold of, so I'm not sure I'll use this just yet. Now, the question is, did I resort to cheesing these skeletons? You're damn right I did. Even the gold skeletons weren't wise enough to stop the cheese. I took the time to kill the Reaper here, which actually only took 2 shots as they pushed him off the edge. I did nearly die in the process, but hey, worth it. Once we reach the end, it's time for Old Hero. So the good news, Thief's Ring means this blind dude can't really see us at all. The bad news, our damage is so low that we might actually not have enough arrows. Having to exit out and do this run back again would have been pretty annoying, but guess what? There's actually 31 holy arrows in the boss room. That's surprisingly convenient. The strat was mainly to keep distance and just be ready to dodge when he charges. if you do get hit, it hurts. A lot. I did indeed end up running out of normal arrows here, but thanks to those holy arrows, I'm able to finish him off, sending him to row his boat down the river Styx. I now decided to put some levels into strength, dex and vitality. I realised also that I hadn't freed Grave Robber Blige, who is kinda important here. Once he moves, we can buy light arrows, fire arrows and holy arrows. We now also have the stats to wield the white bow, which supposedly is better than the compound longbow, even unupgraded. Although the upgrade materials are pretty rare, we can get one by grabbing the Talisman of God and trading it with the crow. There we go, one colourless demon soul. We need to get the Searing Demon Soul before we can upgrade special weapons though. That being the case, let's work our way through 2-1 now. Getting through here was actually quite smooth with our long-ranged bow. I now get a huge amount of shards and unlock the shortcut. After shooting my way through a veritable army of enemies, it was time to take on the Armor Spider. Unfortunately for this boss, he's completely immobile and we have some cover. By standing behind this body on the right, we are safe from most of its attacks and can just freely shoot away at it until it dies. The spider wasn't really able to harm us very much. Much like Superman in a Nintendo 64 game, there was no time to waste, so I took the drop-down shortcut through this next area. This leads us nicely into Flame Lurker. Now, this is well known, but the Thief's Ring absolutely breaks this fight. Wearing it while entering means he won't attack us even though he's looking right at us. Some careful running between the stairs and the back of the room causes him to lose aggro and just reset to his position in the center. Our arrows weren't doing very much damage honestly, and it took a lot of them to bring him down. Also, hitting him with arrows makes him really angry, and we did take some smacks here and there. But with some nice shots and some flame-perfect dodges, we eventually claim victory after 11 minutes. We now give the Searing Demon Soul to Blacksmith Ed, which lets us upgrade the white bow. All this does is give it a D instead of an E scaling in dex, which isn't really that great, but hey, it's something. I was left wondering whether this was actually going to be the best bow though. So I spent some time clearing out the Tunnel City for clearstone shards, both from lizards and also this phantom here. There's a lot of lizards running around, which is very useful. With enough clearstones, I upgrade my quality longbow to +4. Would you look at that? It's already got more AR than the white bow, and there's still one more upgrade level to go, and the scaling is much better. With dexterity now raised to 29, let's go get Dragon God out of the way. Sadly, as I pretty much knew from the start, shooting him with arrows is not an option. Oh, and guess what? Arrows can't break the rubble. Fantastic. Well, time for punching. Yeah, I know, but come on, it's Dragon God. Plus, I'm only destroying rubble, not an actual enemy. I got through and killed this crystal lizard who handily dropped a pure clearstone. A few swift arrows take out the big guy, giving him a case of dragonorrhea. With the souls gained, I level up strength and dex, and then upgrade our bow to max. Right, let's get through the rest of the game. As we have access to him already, there's no reason not to do Storm King. With our bow upgraded all the way, we can now one-shot the minions, so taking them all out is no trouble. The big guy then flies down, and those little ones do hurt a lot. However, we can hit him without the use of the Storm Ruler thanks to the range of our arrows. I wasn't quite able to get him in 2 passovers, but on the third, 3 more arrows cause him to crash and burn. We really storm the battlefield here. I now throw all these souls into strength while I decide where to go next. Well, as this is normally pretty awful, let's try World 5 first. To be fair, the fire arrows work to treat here. We can also encounter the filthy woman who sells poison arrows. These could be useful, but they're pretty pricey. Before long, we make it to Leechmonger. Want to know how this fight went? I stood in one spot by the fog door and kept firing repeatedly. Even with him healing constantly, our fire arrows outdamaged his healing, and soon he dies. A boss full of leeches? Yeah, it kinda sucks. Speaking of sucking, here's the Swamp of Sorrow. Although again, fire arrows from a distance do help to make this a little more palatable. At last, we reach the Dirty Colossus. And if you think for 1 second I'm not going to stand behind a pillar right by the fog door where he can't hurt me and pelt him with arrows until he dies, well, maybe you're not too familiar with my work. This boss is usually a bit of a joke anyway, but I almost felt bad here. Weirdly, the light arrows do more damage than the fire arrows, which I really thought wouldn't be the case. This was a dirty strategy, but you can't argue it's effective. Well, if you didn't like how cheap that was, you're probably not going to like what we do to Maiden Estrella here. First, I take out all the worshipping guys up here. Then, standing on the cliff edge, we pelt the maiden with a torrent of arrows. She tries to heal, but she can't heal fast enough to survive, unfortunately for her. Garl then just kinda gives up. I did shoot him just to see what happened, but soon realized this was a bad idea and made an exit pretty quickly. I'm quite happy with strength and dex, so let's work on our health now. Tower of Latria is our next destination before we head on to the final parts of the first world. Being able to take out these celestial Cthulhus with just 2 shots from range is super helpful. I even took out whatever the hell this thing is just because I never normally do. I then deactivated the ballista, sniped this sketchy guy, and took out the Black Phantom out the front of the fog gate. With that all handled, we can now face the Fool's Idol boss. After my initial assault caused the real one to disappear, I took cover behind the altar at the front and fired away. I actually didn't realize the clones disappear after you hit them a couple of times, even though their health bar isn't depleted. That's a cool little tidbit of info. I was able to shoot the real one even though she was at the other end of the room. I kept moving back and forth to avoid the projectiles, and after enough arrows, we win. Perhaps it would have gone in the boss's favor if it hadn't just stood idle for us to shoot. Onwards to Upper Latria, this bastion of beautiful views. Of course, we can't have this thing hanging around, so we gotta drop it down. I now head below, taking out these absolute atrocities, and then break the second chain to send whatever the hell that is tumbling down. Looks like it might be brain rot. After taking out another Black Phantom Mind Flayer with some stealthy sniping, it was time to face Hall and Oates. This boss, as has been well documented, has some pretty jank AI, where they sometimes just stop dead in their tracks. One notable thing was that shooting off their tails was very difficult, even if you're right up close to them and locked on. I missed a lot of shots here. The damage overall was decent though, and as long as I avoided the lunge attack while also not falling off the platform, things went okay. I couldn't quite finish off the first before the second got involved, but I did take him down shortly afterwards so I didn't get ganked. After a few more arrows, we take out the second one as well. Thankfully, I watched out and they didn't chew me up. So that leads us to the archdemon of this area, Old Monk. Thankfully, I made sure I was playing offline before starting this. I made my way up the stairs, taking out yet more Black Phantom tentacle guys, and went in to confront the Old Monk. Unlike almost every other boss, he can actually dodge our arrows, so I can't just fire willy-nilly. I do have a simple solution though. Just pull back my bow, wait until he gets close, and then fire right in his face as he goes to attack. His AI isn't too bright, so getting this to work semi-consistently was feasible. In no time at all, he dies. Bad AI is Comonk place in this game, it seems. Well, back into the first world. I forgot that we hadn't even cleared 1-2. For some reason, I decided, as I've never done it, to kill the red dragon here. I wouldn't really recommend doing it, it's very slow and boring. It really does drag on for a while. I expect it'll be the same with Tower Knight. Actually, I take that back, this was incredibly smooth. Being able to sniper the crossbowmen from the other side meant much less running around than usual. Also, I can just stand on this section up here and shoot Tower Knight from complete safety. It took me a little bit to find the timing to not hit his shield, and there were quite a few misses. But, even so, it wasn't too long before all the sand had run out of his tower glass and he lays defeated. This hideous guy now laughs at me and runs away. I thought I might be able to kill him from here, but one shot triggers the cutscene for his escape unfortunately. It's okay though, our vengeance came swiftly afterwards. But now it's time for the Penetrator. Interestingly, this guy also has the ability to dodge some of our shots. Although, he doesn't quite have the mobility Old Monk does. Sometimes he jumps but the arrow still hits him anyway. Keeping distance was a little tougher than with other bosses because of how he lunges forward with some of his attacks, but his health isn't all that high. After a good amount of bravely running away, our arrows penetrate his armor to earn us yet another win. Using his souls, we get up to 25 vitality. Onto 1-4, where I took out these completely brainless NPC guys at the start. Oh yeah, we've got to run past this annoying blue dragon bit. Hey, wait a minute. Okay, so he can be poisoned, that is good to know. Just over halfway, we're getting there. Oh, he flies off? Spoil sport. It's all good, I'll get... That was a one-shot? Oh, come on! At least the poison arrows did come in handy for something. The normal arrows felt like they did hardly any damage, so no point wasting them. May as well just let the poison do the heavy lifting. This took a good long while. Was it worth it? Probably not, but at least we got revenge on this dragon that blew fire at us. Before the final boss, I quickly took out Ostrava with minimal effort. False King Alant is the last true roadblock in our path. After that whole dragon fiasco, this felt like a really brisk fight. The arrows did a nice amount of damage, and he really didn't seem to know how to handle our range a lot of the time. Sure, he would occasionally charge at us, but mostly he just kept trying to do his AoE attack, which I interrupted every time with an arrow to the face. Despite a few hits, the king falls after just over 2 minutes. Seems this was just a domestic flight instead of a transatlantic. This of course opens the way to go beneath the Nexus, but not before grabbing the light crossbow of course. We then dropped through the Nexus and we landed so hard that my bow ended up embedded in my skull. That's really compounding the pain. So of course, we go on in and do the usual nothing fight with True King Alant. Let's reflect on the bow here. The bow honestly felt like the ideal way to play Demon Souls. Many of the encounters were completely trivialized by having such an accurate ranged attack. There's even enemies like the dragons which you can't take out without range anyway. I wonder how the crossbow will fare compared to that. Anyway, this cycle is now complete. But one thing that's not complete is our goal of reaching 200,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Over half the people who watch aren't yet subscribed, and if we reach this goal, I'll be doing a special challenge run with the restrictions determined by you, the viewing audience. Thank you, I appreciate you all. See ya, Compound Longbow. It's been fun. At least we can buy a ton of bolts right from the start this time. So unfortunately, like Dark Souls 1, there's no aiming with the crossbow. It fires slowly and the damage is pretty bad. But like all crossbows, it doesn't scale with any stats. It's also not upgraded yet, so the damage being low kinda makes sense. Luckily, I grabbed all those upgrade materials from the last cycle. Let's see what this takes to upgrade. Wait, why isn't it appearing here? It can't be upgraded at all? So it turns out that none of the crossbows in this game can be upgraded. We're in for a bad time, aren't we? Yeah, that damage to the Blue Knight is far from encouraging. But the real question is, how will Phalanx go? Well, badly actually. So first off, the damage is abysmal. It actually takes 6 shots from the light crossbow to kill 1 minion, and that's if you hit them and not their shield. The light crossbow also takes time to reload and fire, and as it's New Game Plus, their spears do a lot of damage. But that pales in comparison to the real problem. The minions can heal. Not only that, but they start respawning if you don't kill them quick enough. After several attempts that no joke went past the 20-minute mark, I actually realized something. This might be impossible. I cannot physically kill these guys fast enough to outpace the healing and respawning. There's no way to boost our damage, and the stronger crossbow and bolts are locked behind this boss. So there was only one solution. Call on my good buddy Doomwolf to drop the heavy crossbow and a bunch of black bolts to me. I know, but look, I could actually have grabbed these from the new game cycle and brought them over. I just normally try to start with the weakest weapon of its type. Anyway, make sure to go to Doomwolf's latest video and comment, "You sir are a hero." Crazy how he saved 2 Demon Souls run for me now. Okay, back to Phalanx. The good news, with better bolts and a better crossbow, we can now kill the minions in just 3 hits. The bad news, they still do a lot of damage to me. One wrong move or just being slightly too close to them can spell my demise. It's actually crazy that Phalanx took literal hours of attempts to get finished here. The winning strategy was really not even that exciting. Run around until you find a straggler, shoot it 3 times while hoping you don't get hit or shoot the shield, and then repeat ad nauseum. Finally, at about 10 minutes in, the numbers were looking thinner. I could actually see I was making progress. By the time we reached the 12-minute mark, the minions were finally dead, and I unloaded bolt after bolt into Phalanx. It still took nearly 2 solid minutes of shooting to finally bring it down. That really sucked. My Phalanxiety was at peak there, worrying that I'd choke. One good thing about having a no-scaling weapon, we can dump all these souls into health. We're gonna need it. This time, we're hitting up Tower of Latria first because the earliest available merchant for black bolts is here. Wow, that damage on the Celestial Cthulhus. Guess we're not killing any of them this time. After a bit of running, we make it to the once royal mistress who sells us the bolts for 100 souls each. What a bargain. Know how you're in for a bad time? When it takes 3 hits just to bring down this guy. I thought for a brief moment about killing this Black Phantom, but yeah, no. So straight on to Fool's Idol again. Compared to Phalanx, this was a walk in the park. Obviously our damage is still dreadful, but having range means I can just move up and down the side of the room and shoot the boss from here. Finding the real one is easy. You can spot them reinforcing the traps on the ground if you're quick, or just find the one without a health bar above them when you lock on. It took a solid 7 minutes or so, but it was fairly safe apart from 1 or 2 hairy moments. Not bad, even if our weapon isn't that powerful. There is of course another crossbow we can actually get here, but it's a rare drop from this crossbow wielding gargoyle deep in the level. It does magic damage, and would you believe it, it actually has scaling. Its damage scales with magic. But trying to actually farm this thing in New Game Plus with our low damage seems like a bad time. Yeah, this is completely pointless. I'm just gonna... Oh, he dropped it second try. Alright then. Now, it requires 16 magic, so currently we can't even wield it. But good news, I have a lot of poppable souls. This lets us get magic up to 21. Well, let's test it out on the gargoyle here. The heavy crossbow does 42 damage, and the gargoyle crossbow does 19? Ooh boy. Okay, but maybe the gargoyles have a very high magic defense. Let's try this guy. Nope, that's still terrible. I did try to take on the man-eaters, but the damage was horrible. I need to think on what we're going to do here. Now, there is one other way to boost our damage, but I gotta be honest, I really don't like it. The Clever Rat's Ring. This game's equivalent of the Red Tearstone Ring. Before trying the man-eaters again, let's go a different route. Let's head to 2-1. Supposedly the armor spider is much weaker to magic than physical, so can the gargoyle crossbow actually do something here? Well, looking at the gargoyle's crossbow damage right now, I am starting to question whether this thing actually does magic damage. But luckily, this fight is basically free. Even though we can't free aim, we can stand easily behind this pillar where most of its attacks can't hit us. We're in lock-on range and we just fire away until it dies. Shame there aren't some enemies we can farmer more souls for like this. I now get one more point in magic for all the good that's going to do. Flame Lurker is up next, and he apparently is very weak to magic. What's the betting that this still does next to nothing? Well, at least the damage is comparable to the heavy crossbow this time, but yeah, both are bad. So with damage that low, this was going to be an extremely annoying fight. His damage was now huge also. Full disclosure, after an unspeakable amount of deaths, I was getting desperate and thought to try the cheese where you freeze his AI while going through the fog gate while aiming with the bow. But before I could even try it, I got stuck in the wall somehow. I exited and reloaded the game, but was still stuck. I entered the fog gate, and crossbow and behold, his AI was frozen. Well, never look a gift horse in the mouth. 10 minutes of shooting later, and this spicy gorilla is defeated. Up ahead, I also took out Dragon God because this was basically free real estate for souls. I leveled up magic again just to see if we can ever get the gargoyle crossbow to perform better than the heavy one. For some reason now, I decided to do 4-1, and God, I hate this level. I know you're supposed to kill these skeletons, but with our damage, yeah, that's not happening. I eventually got through, and as much as I just want to take the shortcut, we do need to free Blige. So I lured out the rolling skeletons in the narrow hallway, and then ran on down to oblige his request for freedom. Luckily, we get a nice reprieve at the end of the level as Adjudicator is once again a breeze. The damage to his head with the heavy crossbow is by far the best damage we've seen against a boss in quite a while. Okay, it still took quite a lot of shots, but with enough of them, we make this Adjudicator our go to the afterlife. Blige is now here to sell us some high-grade grass, and I took out the Reaper below who dropped quite a lot of souls this time round. At the end, we face Old Hero in what was an extremely long fight. The damage was terrible, and 2 hits from him for sure spells our demise. Most of the time we can just play keep away, but sometimes his AI seems to forget he's blind, like when he jumps at us to attack and changes direction mid-air as we move to avoid it. Luckily, despite some close calls, I was able to avoid dying for the entire 16 minutes this took to kill him. Hardly a bold strategy, but there's no prize for playing hero here. 29 magic now, woohoo, I guess. Might as well try Storm King. I was fully expecting this to be a nightmare, but actually our crossbow bolts did take out the mini kings in 3 hits. I was actually able to take them out in quite a pleasant, relaxing fashion. After that, it was just a matter of hiding in the house and shooting the Storm King when he flew overhead. Sure, the damage was low, and it took a lot of shots as is the standard for this run, but I was in pretty much no danger the whole time, so again, it was kinda chill. I guess the calm was during the storm this time instead of before it. I now get magic to 31, and then go to Blacksmith Ed to upgrade a short sword into the Morion Blade for Storm King's soul. For those unaware, this sword gives you a 60% attack boost when you're under 30% health, and it stacks with the Clever Rat Ring, which gives you 50% attack boost when you're under 30% health. I also grabbed the magic sword Makoto, as wielding this drains my health, useful to get to that below 30% range. Honestly, I am really skeptical how well this is going to go given the bosses have a lot of health and defense, and I will literally die in one hit. But let's see. I used the Makoto blade to lower my health and ready myself for the man-eaters. Okay, well let's see. Oh my god, that damage! I was so shocked that I let him get me, but wow, that is really a big increase. Although, despite the damage being good, being constantly one hit from death when you have a long reload time is far from ideal. I tried numerous approaches, including trying to lose their aggro with the thief ring on this ledge. It sort of worked. The best attempt I had over the several hours I tried this was this one. I actually killed one man-eater, but the second one then blasted me. I literally couldn't even see where that came from. Okay, so look, let's talk a sec. We've established that the crossbow is trash, and basically any boss fight from now on is going to be a slow, boring affair of shooting a million bolts for 20 minutes. Now, we could do that, or we could spice things up a bit. On that note, it turns out the man-eaters are actually an optional boss. Just run onto this pillar here and exit out the game as you start to fall. Then spawn back in outside the fog gate and then drop off the side on the right. For some reason, this restarts you on the other side of the fog gate on the other end, ready to fight Old Monk. Is this breaking the rules? Probably not, but after 4 hours of attempts, I needed something to make me smile, and this definitely succeeded in doing so. This leads us into Old Monk now. The worst part was actually the stairs here. Killing the little man centipedes was not too bad, but killing the Black Phantom Cthulhus was near impossible with my damage. So instead, I led them all the way down to the bottom and then ran past. Old Monk was mostly pretty easy, even though our damage was absolute trash as per usual. The only real danger was in the latter part of the fight where he has the homing soul mass, but as long as I make sure not to fire when he has them up, it's not too much issue. After over 11 minutes, this fight ends. No more monkeying around now, let's get through the rest of this hell. I think by this point, we can confirm that the gargoyle crossbow is a massive fail, so let's just upgrade health instead. Okay, something different now. Tower Knight perhaps? Well, it takes 3 hits to bring down the crossbowmen. Normally damage to Tower Knight would be awful, but we can shoot his body for extra damage from a distance. In super hyper mode with the clever Rat's Ring and Morion Blade, the damage is actually pretty solid. Obviously I will die in one hit, but dodging his attacks is way easier than the man-eaters. I just kept firing, and it didn't take too many bolts to tumble this Tower of Terror. We're actually going to go straight on to 1-3 now. I mainly just speed ran through the level, and once the shortcut was unlocked, I proceeded to go back and kill every enemy in the level in super hyper mode. This was, as you might imagine, quite a long and painstaking process. Luckily, the thief ring causes these red-eyed knights to lose interest pretty quickly, so I was able to shoot them in the back. I then made my way to Penetrator's boss room and made a save state. It's time for some premium level cheese. First, go into the fog gate, skip the cutscene and then quit out. Load back in with a bow in hand and enter the fog gate. Start turning around as you go through and then aim in with the bow once you've turned around. With that, Penetrator should be active, but you're now outside the boss fog. Now, do the same thing again, but make sure you're right up against where Penetrator's trying to get you through the fog gate, and voila! Penetrator has now been moved outside the boss room with you. Next up, we lure Penetrator all the way through the level until we get to the entrance. Penetrator can't penetrate this doorway, but we sure can penetrate him with our crossbow bolts. I shoot him from safety until he dies. What a lovely boss fight. Almost as lovely as this depraved chasm. This level doesn't bear talking about, so let's not. Instead, let's talk about Leechmonger. Now, I already knew that his healing would be an issue, so I got myself into super hyper mode right from the jump. I actually worked out that if you get to this platform here, you can angle yourself in a position where you can lock on and shoot him. Normally, the issue is he'd hit you with leech balls, but as luck would have it, if you're in the right spot, this bit of wood sticks out and blocks his attacks, and it means you can just fire away in complete safety. A few more shots, and we leave this guy among the other dead bosses. The following area, the Swamp of Sorrow, was as usual pretty awful, but the poison did at least help lower my health to where it needed to be. For Dirty Colossus, I used basically the same strategy as last cycle, but this time in super hyper mode. I unfortunately wasn't quite in position and did get hit at the start, but I was able to recover, stand in the right spot just poking out from this pillar, and then fire away. He for some reason took way less damage from the bolts than other bosses, which was color sus if you ask me, but we killed him soon anyway. Vitality is at 36 now for all the good that actually seems to do. Onwards then to Maiden Estrella. So I actually thought free aiming to shoot her with the crossbow was likely impossible. That didn't stop me from trying, of course. I spent a good couple minutes fiddling with the camera and firing with no success. I'd resigned myself to believe that it was too far for the crossbow to shoot, but then one of the bolts connected. It was possible to shoot her from here. She can heal though, so I knew our pitiful damage wasn't going to be enough to outpace the healing. So of course I used the magic sword Makoto to lower our health down to get that sweet damage boost. With this, we were able to just keep on firing from our spot of safety until she died once again. Bet she never thought her life would end via some astray bolts. Okay, 38 vitality for the final level of this run. Thank God, what a crazy cycle. With my last remaining willpower, I trudged through the King's Tower. For no real reason, I got the blue dragon to kill Ostrava with his fire breath for some extra toasty cheese. False King Alant stands before us again. How much damage does our crossbow do? Wow, the health bar barely even moved. Being in super hyper mode also doesn't seem preferable given how vulnerable we are after firing a crossbow bolt. So, there's only one thing for it. Enter the fog gate while looking into this pillar and then aiming with the bow as you enter. False King Alant? More like Freeze King Alant, am I right? I quickly got my health down and plowed bolts into him. This didn't take too many hits. But did you think this run's over? Well, I'm afraid that's false. Yeah, so this cycle kind of broke me, and I guess in return I kind of broke the game. I never intended for this to get so cheesy, but honestly it was probably more entertaining for both me and you guys compared to just shooting stuff with a minimal damage crossbow for 8 hours. To finish up, I let True King Alant hit me a couple times to get into super hyper mode, and then fired away at him as he flopped around miserably. With that, the run is complete. You know what? As I broke the game, we might as well break the entire world as well. I shot the Maiden in Black, stepped on her head, and used the power of the Old One to consume the world in fog. Let's be real, if I didn't take this ending, it would have been a real missed opportunity. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you're thinking about using crossbows in Demon Souls, well, I'd advise you not to. I've been JK Leeds, see ya, and have a good one.